One stormy night, the sky was filled with lightning as rain poured down. The wind was blowing strong, but not so strong that it threatened buildings or their rooftops. Unfortunately, it was strong enough to cause weak trees to fall. One tree fell across a road, blocking it completely. At that time, Robert was headed home after a rough shift at a candy factory. He had no idea what was about to happen or how much worse his night was about to get. His headlights weren't able to pierce very far through the thick fog. By the time he saw the fallen tree, it was too late. He collided with it before launching into the air and ending up in the oncoming lane, unable to drive. Suddenly, a fully loaded oncoming semi-truck smashed into Robert's car before another car hit them both from the other direction. The trucker was the only one able to make a 911 call. He turned on his high beams to make it easier for oncoming drivers to see the wreck. That didn't stop another semi-truck from rear-ending him and pushing him off the road. Finally, police and paramedics arrived and secured the area to prevent additional accidents. Robert was in critical condition and was having trouble breathing due to severe chest trauma. He also had terrible neck and back pain with an unknown neck injury. The drivers of the trucks sustained only minor cuts and bruises. The driver of the other car was transported to a hospital but was released just 2 days later. Marcus and his friends were searching for gold and other precious metals in the desert. The hot sun was directly overhead and bearing down on them. Suddenly, Marcus's metal detector signaled that it had found something below. His friends came over quickly to help him dig. After 30 minutes of digging and clearing away dirt and sand, they began to uncover the unknown object. After 10 more minutes, they'd cleared away enough to discover that what they'd uncovered was actually a metal barrel. Unfortunately, it wasn't just any barrel. They immediately notified first responders after realizing that what they found posed a serious risk, both to them and to the surrounding environment. The barrel contained a hazardous chemical substance, and they soon discovered another one. Wait, please listen now. Are you looking for a cool mobile game without ads? One State is the game you are looking for. One State is the first ever open-world online game with roleplay mode. This is the first time I've seen something like this on a phone. Just look at this. This is the best roleplay game on phones. You don't need to watch ads to gain money, XP, or get extra stuff. Hundreds of people on one map and thousands of people can play together at the same time. You can build a career as a policeman and lead a faction or join a gang and lead a criminal lifestyle. Or you can be a hard worker, slowly organizing your business and trading with other players. It all depends on you. Also, the game is optimized for different types of devices, so everyone can play comfortably. One State is absolutely free and does not have annoying ads like other games. Download One State from the link in the description now and come to play with me. For the first players, I will leave my promo code as a gift, BeamNGTV. Can't wait to see you in my company. Firefighters carefully loaded the barrels onto a truck. If one of them exploded, the devastation would be massive. Peter drove the truck once it was loaded, along with 2 police cars and a protected convoy. As the convoy approached its destination, a distracted truck driver suddenly collided with Peter's truck, causing him to lose control. The massive explosion resulted in a concussive shockwave that launched the other vehicle several meters. Sadly, Peter didn't survive the explosion. The police officers and several other drivers were also injured. Andrew was looking for a place to park his semi-truck to take a break. At the same time, Philip was hauling a trailer containing his grandma's old couch. Henriette was on her way to pick up her kids from her mother's house. Suddenly, Philip's tire went flat, and he pulled over to call roadside assistance. Andrew was feeling very dizzy due to exhaustion before he fell asleep at the wheel. His truck began drifting to one side of the road. Suddenly, he struck Philip's trailer, sending him into the oncoming lane where he collided head-on with Henriette. 4 additional vehicles were involved, making this a 7-vehicle pileup. Luckily, Philip was able to get clear of the wreckage, so he wasn't injured in the chaos. Henriette was in critical conditions with bone fractures in her wrist, neck, and right leg. Andrew's seatbelt did its job, protecting him from any serious injuries. He escaped with only shoulder pain. Other drivers were treated for cuts and bruises at the scene, but most of the vehicles were totaled. Bart was enjoying spending the day with his father. They were both relishing a ride in the Porsche that his father had bought 2 months prior. Bart asked his father for permission to borrow the Porsche and take his friend for a ride, a friend who was really into cars. His father approved, and after they got home, Bart took the car for another drive. Bart pulled up to his friend's house and he was amazed by the car. At first, Bart drove his father's car carefully so he could get familiar with its handling. This vehicle has 600 horsepower and goes from 0 to 60 in only 2.6 seconds. After a few miles, he began flooring the accelerator while his friend recorded their joyride on his phone. The car reached a speed of 170 miles per hour before Bart lost control. The Porsche collided with multiple vehicles, causing a pileup on the highway. The Porsche was completely destroyed, but thanks to its safety features, the 2 boys were uninjured. The other involved drivers sustained minor injuries. Bart's father immediately came to the scene to make sure the boys were okay. The police promptly arrested Bart. His father was devastated. Bart was sentenced to 5 years in prison and was fined $1,000 for reckless driving and vehicular assault. Christian was driving down a highway one night. He was on the phone with his wife, who had called to find out how his business conference had gone. Traffic was light when he suddenly saw someone standing in his lane. He swerved to the left, lost control, and ended up in a ditch. Christian got out of his car to see if the person was okay. The man told Christian that he was looking for something that had fallen off his vehicle, but this was only a ploy. The man was actually a criminal setting a trap. Suddenly, an exhausted truck driver approached and rear-ended the pickup truck, pushing it into the 2 men. The criminal was killed instantly. Christian was transported to a hospital, and the pickup driver wasn't seriously injured. When police responded, they informed Christian that the other man had used this ploy in the past to rob and kill victims. Unfortunately, every time they responded to a crime scene, they had been unable to find any solid leads that would enable them to identify the perpetrator. The police connected nearly a dozen previous incidents to this criminal, but this time, a sleepy truck driver had taken care of the problem for them. Richard was headed home from work after being called by his pregnant wife. Shortly after he arrived home, her water broke, and they immediately called for an ambulance. Paramedics responded 3 minutes later to transport her to the hospital. Traffic was heavy, but other drivers yielded to the emergency lights and siren of the ambulance. A couple of hours after safely arriving at the hospital, a healthy and strong baby was delivered. Richard headed home after spending time with his wife and newborn, since he had to leave the country on an international business trip the next day. Winds were strong and rain was pouring, causing many flights to be delayed. Richard's flight was delayed by an hour. Once his flight was able to take off, the weather got worse, but not so bad that a landing was necessary. During the flight, the plane experienced a lot of turbulence. Suddenly, winds became so strong that the plane became uncontrollable. It tumbled from the sky, eventually impacting the ground. Sadly, there were no survivors. Richard's wife was informed by the police after they confirmed that he had been on board.